Welcome to the Course of Action podcast with me, Jeff Clark. My guest today is Eric Bishop, author and master of the pen. He's a longtime thriller junkie turned writer, courtesy Force Poseidon Publishing. His debut book, The Body Man, is out now, and you can order it from all the major book retailers, including Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and of course, Barnes & Noble. It's my pleasure to introduce the newest author to the thriller genre, Eric Bishop. All right, guys, I'm here with Eric Bishop. Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Wonderful to talk to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I know by the time everybody hears this, The Body Man is going to be available for purchase online, the ebook. You'll be able to order paperback and hard copies also, hopefully. Everything works out, and you'll be able to come through with an awesome book. I thank you, before we get started, thank you for allowing me to read it ahead of time.
Thank you.
It was a huge honor, and it was an incredible book to read.
Appreciate that.
And we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But first, you grew up and were born in Connecticut in the north.
Yep, I'm a Yankee. A Yankee living in the South.
And
but
then
I'm
you
not a
moved
Yankees
to the
fan.
South.
I'm a Red Sox fan. I grew up
let's-
between. You were either a Red Sox fan or you're a Yankee fan growing up in Connecticut. And whichever one you were, you hated the other ones.
Yeah.
So, boo Yankees, go Red Sox. That's my so.
I have a friend that was he was born up around there, but he spent like his whole life there until he joined the military, and he was the same way. He is a Red Sox fan, Boston stuff till he dies, and you didn't talk highly about New York at all.
But I do love New York, and I want them to buy a copy of The Body Man. So you guys rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a fan of the baseball team, but sorry.
So you moved to the South, though.
Yeah, so I came down here during college years, and then I didn't want to stay in the South. I've always wanted to head west. I've always been a traveler. Family kind of slowed that down a little bit, as it normally does. But there's still part of me out west. I reluctantly came back. I would have stayed out there probably if it wasn't for family circumstances. So that's where. I don't know. I think, I've read a lot as a kid and traveled some as I think the first time I went to California was 1994. And just getting out there, it's just big country. And I'm used to growing up in the smaller, I didn't grow up in a city. Connecticut's definitely I think people do think Connecticut is a city. And you're like, no, man, my aunt had like 6 acres. I grew up on playing in a lot of land as a kid. And we were near New York and near Boston and spent a lot of time in the cities.
Sure.
But it really was more of a quieter lifestyle, really, of where we were. So, but yeah, just the big country, really. Yosemite still to this day, I've been to 45 states.
Wow.
All the Western states. Alaska I haven't got to. Alaska was going to be my 50th, and it still might be. I haven't, life interfered with those plans as it does. And, but something about being out west, I want to ranch out in Montana. If I could if the book would sell solid, shoot, I'd just buy 40 acres out there and go camp out there once a year and say, I got land in Montana. So,
It's
we'll see.
Beautiful country up there. Yeah. We just got out of, moving from Colorado, and I was there for a little while. Golly, talk about beautiful.
And it's changed a lot probably while you were there, because I lived out in Denver, in Westminster, and that was 2003, 2004. And I went back almost 2 years ago now for a quick weekend trip, and I couldn't believe how much it had changed. I hadn't gone back because I had said if I ever fly back there, I won't go back. I'll get off the plane and stay. And so I waited a while to go back, and I was surprised how much it had changed and just grown.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, we lived in Colorado Springs, but Colorado Springs had basically doubled in size. And even during the pandemic, I was reading in the newspaper one day, and they said Colorado Springs issued over 400 construction permits during the pandemic, which was like triple their annual average. Growth was just exploding. Like if there was a piece of land or a green piece of grass around retail that wasn't being built on, there was a plan to do it. Rest assured. That was not a vacant lot. Somebody owned it and there were plans because it was just booming, absolutely booming. And I see why. It's a huge tourist destination. It's a beautiful country. You can't be mad. I mean, I don't know how people could be mad living there. Like I stepped out my front door every morning and Pikes Peak and the Rocky Mountains were right there. Like you can't be mad at that. I don't know how you could, but yeah, we loved it. I mean, we're talking. Oh, yep, we're gonna buy a cabin up there one day, and that's gonna be our little retreat because that was one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and no, I still have a lot of fond memory. I spent a lot of time on the weekends going to Rocky Mountain National Park, hiking a lot on my own, even on Saturdays and Sundays. And Yosemite though is where. So Yosemite's, I think probably why Yosemite is on the top of the list is because first time I went is in 2014 and I finished my first novel there. I stayed there an entire day and I wasn't an overnight. It was a quick trip there. Actually, I got there early in the morning and I wrote, and at that point I'd planned out enough where I knew where I was going with the last couple chapters. So I sat at the base of Lower Falls for several hours till my butt hurt. And then I went to the cafe to get my battery recharged and wrote a little bit there. And then I went out towards Merced Grove and I finished writing the novel there. And I was hooked. I've been back 4 other times, I think. And I've done some writing there, not as much, but I've done a lot of overnights now. And I'll actually want to have a writer's retreat there one weekend.
Wouldn't that be cool? That would be cool.
It's the most amazing place. And there's really a lot of we live in a blessed country. It's a lot of cool places, but Yosemite's got me, probably because of finishing that book there. It will have me. I was going to take my kids this year, and with COVID, there's still a lot of restrictions. And I said, well, if I'm paying that much money to go out there, I'm not going out there and have things closed or you can't go here. The trail's not available. I'll wait another year and hope that things kind of return to a level of normalcy before we go out there. Because I want my kids to see it. They've seen pictures. Oh, Dad, that's cool. That's pretty. And I'm like, that picture looks like a dog poop compared to what you see. And it's a beautiful picture, but it's so
does no justice.
Yeah, it never does. Never does.
So flash forward a handful of years and now you're staring at a publishing contract.
Yes, sir.
And the dream of becoming a novelist and an author is coming to fruition. It's becoming reality. What inspired you to start writing in the first place? Where'd you get that from?
Sorry, you cut out for a second. I didn't hear the end of the question.
Oh, so what inspired you to start writing? What got you? What made Eric say, you know what, I could write a novel?
Probably insanity, I guess most people would say, but I don't agree with that. No. So I wrote in college, and I actually started with poetry. I was a huge Shakespeare fan. I've got the complete works here back behind me, the leather works. And so I started writing poetry, which is an abomination if I look at them now. I did look at them not that long back, and I was like, oh my goodness, I thought I knew it. Yeah, they rhymed, but what in the world? But it started that creativity. So that turned into then starting to write stories. And, I've got, so The Body Man's my fourth completed novel. I've got 3 others that I'd love to do something with. I know some people say, well, and I do think those first 3 novels really were kind of my apprenticeship to learn what I was doing, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing in 2014. I finished that first novel in Yosemite and I thought, well, damn, this is the best novel ever written. But it got my passion going, because ever since college I was writing, but I was never finishing anything. So I have a folder on my computer. I have one called Books, and under that I have folders for all the current stuff and the 3 books I finished, and probably 6 other books that are at least dreamed up or in some process. So there's a bunch of folders on that one. Well, I have another folder called Old Books, and Old Books is what I started after college up until about 2014. And what I found with those, Jeff, is that Eric never completed what he started. And, I've got one that's, I think, 40,000 words, and I looked at it. It was pretty big, but I found a pattern of just never sticking with something. So when I came up with that idea for that story I finished called Vengeance, that I finished in 2014, Yosemite, and I wrote 3 in that series. But when I came up with that one, my main goal was to finish this novel. You've never done it before. You've always given up or whatever. Not given up because it was too hard, just got distracted, put it aside. So, I'm always been a dreamer. So that's a good story, but this next one's the better story. So I put that one aside and I'd go to the next one. So that's when 2014, I just said no. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to write a novel. I read a lot. So the feedback I had got from folks that read it, that first novel, said, this is very Clancy-esque, which is a huge compliment. Not to say it was Clancy's level of expertise, but it had the feel of a Clancy novel, which was, I was writing what I knew. I was writing what I had read from teenage years, since my dad gave me my first Clancy book, and I was like, my eyes were opened. But I tried to write it more in a Flynn style as well, which, Clancy was a master, and he's on my Rushmore, and his stories always kept me hooked. But they were huge stories. So Vince Flynn comes in years later. I think Vince's first book got published, or traditional published. I know he did his first one smaller publisher, but his first traditionally published book, I think, was my senior year of college or junior year of college. I was getting into college, but so he took what Clancy did and he made it more compact. So a Clancy book is, this tall.
It's a telephone book.
Is that tall, and so he made everything concise. And he always left you wanting more at the end of every chapter. So I tried to model it after that when I was writing those first books. And even now still, Tom and Vince are both in my acknowledgments. They'll never get to see them. But I'm writing these books because of them. And, the fact that Kyle Mills has kept that going, the fact that I interact with Kyle sometimes, that's the coolest thing. It's like, I got a message from the guy that writes Vince Flynn's, series.
What an incredible job too.
So it's a really cool thing, but yes, that's really what got me going and got me believing that. The belief thing, what I try to tell people, and is especially since I finished the first one, is if you start it, finish it. Even if it's only for yourself, don't. I write stories for myself. It sounds selfish in a way, but I don't write stories to please Jeff. I don't write stories to please Kyle or any of these other authors or fans. I write stories that I want to hear and I want to read. And I hope they resonate with other people. But if I can make something I like, then I figure, well, there's maybe a good chance other people will like it too. Because I don't understand writing something if you don't like it or it's not your genre. I would fail at that pretty bad. But.
Yeah, I would never go try to write like a young teen novel, that seems to be kind of booming right now. I would never go try to do that. I would never go try to write, a corporate marketing book when, I don't know. I've only scratched the surface of marketing, I'd stick to kind of what I know and what I enjoy and kind of, expand from there. And you answered my next question, which was who are the big influencers, but it's fine, obviously Clancy was one of mine too. The Hunt for Red October is like one of my favorites. And he was huge during the 90s because it was just Clancy everything. You couldn't turn around and see Clancy on something in the media. It was everywhere. But who I really liked outside of in the bigger thriller genre was like John Grisham and Michael Crichton.
Absolutely.
Those were...
Got both of them in my shelf as well. Absolutely.
I love, and I'm a true crime junkie. Like I binge watch it on Netflix more than I would like to admit. But I love it. I love the storytelling of it all. And that's really kind of motivated me.
Michael Connelly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have watched some of that. I enjoyed that.
The books are really good too. Titus,
are they?
Titus does if you do the audio books, that's the only way I've actually done Connelly's books is, or his Bosch series is I've done
I have to try that.
And Titus, well, it's cool because I've seen the series and then you're hearing Titus read the books and it feels like it's just an extension of the movie versions that occur. So yeah, it's really,
well, that's cool. Cause a lot of times,
well,
that's good. Cause a lot of times, you get the book and then you get the movie and you go, so if you can if you can go from the series to the audiobook,
Yeah.
and you can say that, they've done something.
They've done
Because,
something well, yeah.
boy, that's hard. It's hard to take, especially like a Clancy novel.
Yeah.
700 something pages, and you got to turn that into a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
Well, a good thing for streaming services now, because they can do a series, and I think that's going to be way better. Like when Jack Carr said he was going to do the Terminal List series, I was going to thank God, because if it was just a movie, I was like, I don't know. But it's a series, and he can really get into detail about that. Whew, that's going to be killer. I'm looking forward to it so much.
Yeah, so am I. Absolutely. So yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, and most books that get adapted to film are not as good as the books. I like the Harry Potter series books. I've done the books, and they changed a lot, obviously, for the movies. But I thought the movies were well done. But I think those are the outliers. Most of they just did
that's the 1% of the 1%.
It is, yeah. That Without Remorse was done recently, which was a fantastic, one of my favorite Clancy books. Yeah. And I talked to some people before I watched it, and they're like, "It's not the book. Go in thinking of it as it's something else, or you will not be very happy." So, and I do get that things don't. Even Jack has said that for the Terminal List. They've made changes, but of course, the changes they made, they've kept, as far as I'm aware, they've kept Jack in the process of reviewing stuff, of going through. I think Chris has kept him pretty well involved from the interviews I've seen with Jack, at least. So that's a big deal, because a lot of times the authors are, they'll buy your rights, and then you don't exist. They don't care about your opinion. They don't care what you think. They buy the rights to that story, and it gets changed. It's not
you don't even get invited to set, let alone be consulted. So the fact that Jack is on set and obviously having a hand in it is incredible, because that's going to, and I think Jack Carr, mark my words right now, Jack Carr will change the way authors are involved in filmmaking.
I hope so.
Because of how involved I've seen him be. And I don't know him personally, but I've just seen what he's posted. And I think he would change that for everybody, because it's going to lend. And if the Terminal List is successful like the book is, and I'm sure it will be, he's going to lend a level of credibility that nobody knew was there.
Yeah.
And people are going to look, I think producers are going to look at authors differently, and they're going to say, well, they might be my greatest asset to this production.
Yeah.
Why would I cast them out?
He's got such the experience in what he wrote.
Oh yeah,
where he lived that background. So having someone of his caliber on the set and kind of giving you a yay or nay is invaluable. Versus if you're writing a book about the FBI and you know nothing about the FBI, but you wrote a good book, it was a good thing, but you weren't a former agent. That might be a harder sell to say, well, you need to have him on set. Well, he didn't do any investigations. He's not familiar with all the terminology outside of what he studied to maybe, put a book down. So, but yeah, it's going to be, I'm looking for, he's keeping it close to the vest of when it's coming out. And,
man, he sure is.
and I think that's smart on his part, because it builds the anticipation. So he is a marketing team in and of himself. And, I have interacted with him a little bit. I've met him several times. I've spent some time with him, and he's one of those people you meet that's just super encouraging to other authors, and a lot of authors are. But he's just one that I've interacted with that's always been like, stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to make it. And positivity like that resonates, and it helps other authors, and that's kind of what I try to offer as well, in a much smaller scope, because I don't have a fraction of his audience. But that's where I go back to saying, when I try to talk to other authors, of first thing you can do, how do I write a book? Well, first thing is start writing it. And that's easier said than done, but it's actually not that difficult. If you can communicate, if you have the ability to type, you can start telling a story. Can you write a full novel? Yes, anyone with that ability that I just said can also write a full novel. Can you write a good novel? Well, now we're getting to a different subject. Maybe not. But can you write something that you can finish? Absolutely. The only way you won't finish is if you quit. And that's what I tell my kids all the time. Whatever it is you're going to do, just try it. if you try soccer and you don't like it, hey, you don't have to keep playing soccer. My son's huge into karate, and he loves it. And, we bring him 3 days a week to practice for karate, and he's diligent about it. And it's such a great thing for him to be involved with. And if he wanted to quit karate, which he won't, but if he wanted to quit, I wouldn't fault him for that, because I was like, well, you tried it. You gave your best, and it wasn't for you. And, that's what I try to encourage other authors is just finish it. Finish it for yourself. Finish it to prove that you can actually complete something you started.
Right.
Then you can start the conversation of, can I get this thing? Can I get an agent? Can I get this edited? Can I get it published? All that. That's not your primary concern. When you start writing that first word, whatever it is, your first word is to write the end when you're done. That's right. All you have to be concerned. And whether that takes you 2-3 months, 2-3 years, you start it, finish it.
Well, there's so many tools out there now at people's disposals, to get, don't worry about all that stuff because it's out there. So if you pitch it for a year and nobody's picked up on it, you know what? Save your pennies, hire an editor, get somebody to do some graphic design for you, invest the money in it yourself, publish it, be your own marketing machine. There's people who have done it and become bestsellers. So, yes, it wasn't like 10 years ago where your only real option was to find a publisher. There's a lot of tools out there now. And so as you're, saying start and finish, you're on the tail end, you finish. The Body Man is done. It's a done deal. I mean, we're 2 days away from it releasing. No. When people hear this, I posted something on social media a couple weeks ago that said that. Yeah. I have no longer, I did my job. It's done. I can't make changes. That book, and I do think that book's not mine anymore. That book is anyone that wants to buy it on the 11th going forward. And that was a little bit of something to get my head around, but that's what I wanted. And guess what's not anybody else's? Breach of Trust, the next book. I still got that. I can do whatever the hell I want with that one. And at some point, I'll hand that one over to the publisher. And guess what? It won't be mine anymore. It'll be everybody else's that wants to purchase it. And then I'll be on the third book. And that's the plan. The master plan is sure. I got 3 in various forms. 2 of them are pretty decently along. And one is a dream. It's for my dad, actually. That one will be named after something for my dad. And that one started. And then like I said, I got those original ones that I wrote 3 out of 7. I'd like to go back and polish those if I ever can at some point, and then finish what I started with the other storylines, because I think those would be good ones as well. And I haven't read them in a few years, so I might change my tune when I read them. Like, oh man, what was right? But anything can be fixed, and that's the other thing. As you were saying, is get that first draft done, because most authors will say their first draft was crap. And it needed a lot of help. So get the first draft out, and you're right. There's so many resources out there. Also, the other thing that I would throw out there as a caveat is there's a lot of resources out there, but be careful, because there's a lot of sharks out there. Like anytime when you throw a little chum in the water, sharks are going to come. And, I've just heard too many stories over the years of people charging little and a lot for stuff and not delivering. So I'm fortunate I did not go down that path as some other authors have, and wasted a lot of money and had nothing to show for, little to show for. But I did definitely do your research.
Yeah, do your research. I did hire an editor before I got with Force Poseidon. So the book that I ended up selling to them had been professionally edited. And the editor I got was through a friend who's a best-selling author who recommended someone. And I was very happy with it. It was very fair priced. And I was happy with the results. And that, I think, is what led to me getting that book published. Was I wasn't, just using Grammarly and other online resources. I actually had a, to some degree, polished manuscript that I could then float out there and to try to get sold. So I think that was a huge plus.
So let's talk about, so the ink is dry on the contract. You have a deal. Now the manuscript has a value. It's worth something because, you got a contract on it. Now you have to go through the process of getting it ready for publishing day. What is that like because you said you had a polished manuscript, but what happened once you turned it over to the publisher and said, okay, let's get rolling on this? What happened next?
Yeah, so the next step is they start going through their editorial process and they make changes, and they, as polished as it is, and even after it was polished, I did go back and make changes, because when I started going through the agent process, agents, would give their advice. I had a lot of requests for full manuscripts, but they point out things. So I went back myself and went back and made a lot of changes. That was an interesting process, though, in and of itself, because what I've learned through this ordeal, you could say, or the learning curve of this, is that it's so subjective. So you'd have one agent reply back and say, man, this is a really good story, but the dialogue, I'm just not connecting with the dialogue, not connecting with these characters. And then you'd get an email from, a week later from another agent, and they'd be like, the dialogue's really good on this, but I'm not really connecting with your story. And you're like, wait, hold on. Out of these two things, that they're not going the same direction. So at some point, you kind of take all the criticism or the constructive criticism you receive, and then you just have to make a decision of what do I change and what do I don't. I used a lot of beta readers for mine, including some authors whose opinions I respected. And one author in particular was super, super helpful and basically been a mentor to me. And his feedback really is the reason I'm sitting here talking to you. He really got me on the straight and narrow and helped turn a good book into a better book. But yeah, so once I hand it off to the publisher, then they do their thing, and of course they come back with you with edits and yay nay on, and you have some opportunities to basically make your changes, and then and it happened so fast. It was over about an 8-month period, which is faster because it was a smaller publisher, so I had a little bit of a quicker turnaround than some people. I saw something the other day. It was on social media, of course, and it was someone had signed a book deal, and the book wasn't coming out till 2024. And I read it, and I was like, that's 3 years. I mean, I'd hate to think how many things that are in the Body Man that 3 years from now I'd want to tweak a little bit just because of technology or because of what's going on in the world. And that's always a dangerous thing because you're writing in a world you're living in, but you don't know how the future is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say I had a reference in there to a professional athlete that is no longer with that professional team. And I had it in there for a reason. And that was one of the things that I had to get back with the publisher and said, hey, that part here, take the team out.
Quick change.
There's a game going on tonight. I don't want to say what teams are playing because it's no longer accurate. The player's not there anymore. So it kind of lesson learned too for me of going, okay, future novels, be specific on certain things, but Tom Brady might not play for a team the rest of it until he's 60, like he thinks. Don't put Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You put the Pats in the first one. Don't put Tampa Bay in the second one. So
So by the time people listen to this, the Body Man's going to be available for purchase. It's going to be released. Obviously you pitched this for like 2 years. You really worked on it. It's not the first completed novel. You have other ideas, locked up in the vault. But go through the emotions of, you got the Body Man. Boom.
There you go.
You got the card. Yeah, I got the card.
I got the card. There you go.
With the autograph. What's been your emotion like over the last month? Because pre-sales for the ebook started in like October, and
started a while ago.
A while ago. And as you got closer, final edits, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and we're literally a couple of days away. What have the emotions been like over the last month, knowing it's coming finally?
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer. In general, excitement, really gratefulness. That's the one. It's hard. You work, and I'm not the only one that's done this. Clearly, you've written. You work so hard at something, and to actually see it come to fruition, it's difficult. I actually put something on Twitter this morning. I was out for an early morning walk, and I've had that question a lot this week, just from people like, "Hey, how you feeling?" And I don't know how to answer that question. I tried to convey my feelings in my acknowledgments is what I put on Twitter this morning in a video. And not being aloof with saying that, but to me, it's mainly been gratefulness and humbleness, being humbled by the experience. Because yes, I wrote the book. Yes, this was my dream. This was my concept. I came up with the plot points and the characters and all that. But there's so many people along this path that have, even before I wrote this book, that have helped me get to this spot. My dad. My dad is the one that handed me my first Tom Clancy book. If Dad didn't do that, I don't know if I would have written books. My mom, this book is dedicated to my mom. My mom is, she's my mom. She's the greatest support system I had in my life. And everyone's moms is typically their greatest support system. And I said, well, I've got kids, and book 2 will have to be dedicated to them, because book 1's going to be my mom. Because, when I went to my first conference and I was like, holy blank, look how expensive this is. Guess who stepped up and paid for the conference? Mom stepped in and paid for your conference. And that helped open doors. And she's been the biggest support system that, your moms always believe in you, because they kind of don't have, and as a dad now, I understand that. You kind of don't have a choice. But I do hear stories from people that say their families don't read their books. And I've had the opposite experience. My family's been a huge supporter of that. And the acknowledgments was really a way to tell thank you. And that was one of the first questions I had for the publisher. Because I look at books, and I don't judge this at all, so it's not a judgy thing. But first thing I normally do with a book, always, is look at the acknowledgments. And to me, can tell a lot about who they thank and why. And sometimes you can do that in a couple lines. If you've had 50 books out, you're not thanking, your kitchen sink. I thank the kitchen sink because The Body Man could be my only book out. I don't anticipate that to be the case. I have a 3-book deal. But the reality is I might get one shot, and then everything else is me typing books and handing it to friends. So I said, well, if I get one shot, I want to be able to thank the people that are most important to me, because I sincerely am grateful for their support and their encouragement. So I had a lot of fun with the acknowledgments. There's a lot of stuff in there that people might read and be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Someone knows what I'm talking about. Maybe not any of you, but someone knows what's in there. Every comment is specifically in there for a reason. But it was my way of showing my gratefulness and just being humbled by the process. So it's also like anything in life. You do it, and the emotions do fade. You have your first child, and you hold that child in your hand, and it's an amazing piece of creation that you've created. Yeah,
it's an experience.
Oh, absolutely. But, after sleepless nights for a few weeks and all that, the joy of it does fade a little bit, where you're like, do I got to clean this crap up every day? Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Got to keep this thing every day, nonstop.
I'm not having another one if this is the sleep schedule.
Until you get to a regular sleep schedule, people don't have another one. And then they forget, it was so cute to have a baby. Then they have their second one. They're like, the hell was I thinking?
I know.
This is torture.
Suckered me in 4 times. Exactly. 4 times it got me on that before I finally had my daughter, and I said, okay, this is it.
So I'm sure in the coming days and weeks that excitement level will drop down, but I'm also hoping that excitement level carries over as I continue to work on the second book. And then, hopefully the sales on this are solid, and there will be a second book, and there will be a 5th book and a 7th book and a 10th book. I know how I won't have those if I quit, if I stop writing. And if I don't, you also have to believe in yourself. That's one thing. And I'm, like most authors, probably riddled with imposter syndrome. But at the end of the day, you better have some confidence, and you better have some thick skin. People say, don't look at your reviews. Don't go to Amazon. And Jack Carr, we've used Jack as an example. Jack reads his bad reviews and makes.
I love that. I'm stealing that idea from him when my stuff is on the shelves. That's the first thing I'm going to do, because that is so cool. And I love that he just shrugs it off, and it gives me confidence. It makes me go, oh, man, this dude don't care at all. He only cares about the people who enjoyed it. And I would say 90% or more of the bad comments are from people that really have no business commenting. It's like they came on there to comment, and it's like, did this guy even read the book? He's just talking trash just to,
Yeah.
he just feels grumpy that day. Like, it's in no, like, or complaining, like, the dust cover on my book came torn. That's not Jack Carr's fault. That's Amazon or whoever shipped it. Like, that's not his fault. Why? You went and wrote a negative review because the dust cover is shipped? Jack didn't send it to you out of his garage. Guys.
Sure.
Like,
you sure about that?
come on. Like, let's be.
I don't get that. I've never left a negative. I've left a lot of reviews. I've had some books I've not written reviews on because I didn't have anything nice to say. And my mom did.
Sure.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
Agreed.
But yeah, I don't get that. Well, and I think that, though, kind of brings us into, and not to have that conversation, but social media, the age of information that we live in, the anonymity that people can post online creates a lot of people who think they're heroes, that they can say whatever they want. There's no consequences.
Yes, these keyboard commandos.
Yeah. I think that's where that comes from. You know, when you can insult someone and I can say, Jeff Clark's a jerk. Well, I say it with anonymity because I have a little emoji as my thing and my name's is, Fart Whisperer or whatever. Who knows? Who are you going to come back to the Fart Whisperer because he called you a jerk or something? I mean, come on. But thin-skinned people that don't have the courage to finish books or anything else tend to say things. You know what? Finish something. Work hard at something. Yeah. And then still shut your mouth if someone works hard. You don't need to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
I think Mike Tyson said it. I think I heard him say, social media made a lot of y'all not scared of getting punched in the face. Because, before social media, you watched what you said to folks. You didn't have a loose tongue. You didn't pop off because you didn't know who's going to step up to you and call your bluff. Like, oh, you're a tough guy? Well, maybe I'm tougher. But now, like you said, social media, in a way, it's a celebration of freedom of speech, but it's almost been exploited to the point where it's like, okay, there's some things you should not say. And there's some people you should not say it to. And you can lose credibility just as quick as you can gain it. Maybe even faster. Maybe you can lose it. So you have to really be careful. And it's just one of those things where, I don't understand. Like, I'm with you. I've read some books before that I was like, I'm just not going to write a review on this because I wasn't feeling it. It's not that it's bad. It's that I didn't like it. It doesn't mean the world won't love it. Correct. I didn't like it. There's a couple of thriller authors out there that people are absolutely in love with. I just can't get into it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
If everybody bought your book, you'd sell 330 million books here in the United States alone. That's not the case.
I'm okay with that.
Right? Yeah. So,
I'll take 10% of that. Hell, I'll take 1% of that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, let's talk about The Body Man specifically. Obviously, we don't want to give too much away because people need to go buy it and they need to go check it out. But I love the synopsis that you teased for the book. And it's who protects the president, the Secret Service, who protects the office of the president, the Body Man, and he's finished without a trace. And I think that is just so incredible. And I love the way it sets it up. But let's talk about the Body Man specifically now that it's about to be out. And by the time people hear this, it will be out. Have you ever needed that shot of jolt, that energetic pickup? Well, Call Sign Coffee absolutely has that for you. Use discount code CLARK10, CLARK, the number 10, while you're checking out at callsigncoffee.com. 10% off your entire order. With the exception of gift cards, the whole order 10% off. I can recommend it highly. I really enjoy Call Sign Coffee, especially their new hot cocoa that just came out. Call Sign Coffee is veteran owned, military spouse founded and operated. It's like no other. It's an excellent coffee company. Again, discount code CLARK10, CLARK, the number 10, get you a 10% discount between now and the end of 2021. Go check them out, callsigncoffee.com. All right, so let's talk about The Body Man. Obviously, don't want to talk about too much. Don't want to give it away because people need to go buy it. But surrounded in secrecy, Don Bentley gave the first endorsement review saying it was going to keep you guessing until the last page. I can confirm from reading it that it absolutely does that. 5-star book, in my opinion. It reminds me of that crime novel, like John Grisham, The Firm, The Pelican Brief. The Night Agent by Matt Quirk is what it reminds me of. And those are all huge compliments because I love those books.
Absolutely. I take them
but The Body Man is very interesting because it's very, very kind of dramatic in its title. What the heck is The Body Man? Why would somebody call their book The Body Man? What the heck does it mean? And I loved it because halfway through the book, you still don't know what this body man is. Like, what is it? Who is it? It's just out there. But you have this great story with this character of Eli Payne, his partner, Kat Stone, government officials are involved. Multiple agencies start to get involved. The story starts moving, picking up. Even more steam than already had. Who is Eli Payne in Eric Bishop's mind? How did you create the character?
Yeah, so that character, he was one of the fun ones because I wanted someone. I knew the background of what I wanted him to have come from. I wanted him, and I grew up in the '80s. So watched a lot of buddy cop movies where there was animosity between the characters, and I'm sure that bled into my storyline. I wanted to do it where you had a not older, probably close to my age. Honestly, I didn't really give him a set number of age, but I had an age range. But an older agent who nobody really wants to work with. He kind of likes to do things on his own. He doesn't want a partner, and what's the best thing to do is you put him with this fresh out of Quantico agent who's totally wet behind the ears, but she's not a pushover. She's not an agent coming in there that's going to say, yes, Eli, whatever you want. No, she's giving Eli the bird, she's going to give it right back to him. And I wanted a strong female character that could take it and could give it right back. And they were really fun to write for. And I toned a lot of it down. I took a lot of stuff out over the course of edits and all that and I tried to leave in that good meat, but I tried to leave in a lot of sarcasm. The greatest compliment I get for those two characters is when people have read it, like advanced readers and beta readers and stuff. And they're like, I felt like I know them, and I could see people having those exact, when he peels out of the garage and he's playing White Snake, and or she's saying that's her dad's music, and it pisses him off even more.
I loved that.
I could see that occurring. I mean, I saw it occurring in my head as I wrote it, honestly. But they're really, and they're characters too that I definitely have aspirations to do something else with them. I have another story for them, honestly, that I've started. Not the sequel to this book, but I do have another story that I have begun for them. And they were fun to write. All the characters are always fun, but your main protagonists and your main antagonists are normally the ones that keep you typing every night, keep you hammering away on those keyboards, on those keys.
But I really like the relationship that Eli and Kat have. I love the back and forth. I felt the same way. I felt like I knew them. But I also felt the youngness of the relationship, and it is because he kind of just gets tossed her as things start. And I thought that was really cool. I felt it like exactly how you just described it. I read it like that. Like, she's not some pushover. No. She's not, but she is a rookie. She is new. He's obviously kind of a grumpy old veteran, but he's still sharp.
Yeah.
he's still got some tips and some tricks. He's going to teach her some things, and he did.
Yep.
The whole course of the whole book. He was teaching her lessons.
Yes.
And he was learning from her too. And you kind of saw that character evolvement of him towards the end of the book. You started seeing where they really meshed well together. So I really liked how you did that relationship. I thought it was a fantastic. And I can see how they're only going to grow more.
Yeah.
So I would love to see, more books with those two, especially if that's the dynamic they're going to have and it's going to grow. It's going to be incredible. And I like a good, strong female character too, because I think it's very important to, kind of have that role. But I think it gives a lot of dynamics to the story, the relationships, and what you can do. It really builds it up. But what I want to know is, where did the idea for the Body Man come as far as the concept of that person, not the book, the person, role. The Body Man, the role. Yeah, exactly. The role.
Yeah. So, it came a long time ago, not super long. I was working on a different book. I was finishing up an earlier book, and I was doing a cleaning job. So, you got a family of 4 and you got to pay the bills. So I had an office that I cleaned on Friday nights. I'd get up there with some food, and on the drive up that night, I was like, man, I need something new. What's that next thing I'm chasing? And I walked in the building that night, turned the alarm off, and it wasn't a voice in my head, but I had this thought run through my brain: is there's always someone who knows where the bodies are buried. Which immediately I thought of a mafia book, and immediately I discarded that and said, I'm not Italian, I'm not writing a mafia book. But I tried to answer my own internal question. Well, who would know where the bodies are? And my answer to that immediately in my head was, well, the Body Man would know. Very generic. Well, that triggered something in my brain of a news thing I had seen not that long back before that. And this was during towards the end of the Obama administration, that President Obama had a man that worked for him that the media dubbed the Body Man. And his name was Reggie Love, real guy. I know a Secret Service agent that knew Reggie. Found that, years later, I cut that interaction. I haven't interacted with Reggie, but I'd love to. I'd love to just say hi to him. Maybe send him a letter or send him a book.
Send him a book. Dude, I wrote this because of you.
It really was. But I didn't look into what Reggie actually did, or what, and I didn't really care what he did. It was that title that I cared about. And I've kind of glanced at it over the course of years or after the fact. And it's like, well, I think he held the president's BlackBerry, or they might have held his smokes or whatever. He was there to be the president's personal assistant. Whatever President Obama needed, the Body Man's there to take care of your needs, to get you what you need, make sure you get to the next meeting, whatever it might have been. Well, to me, that was going to be a real boring story. Well, that's not the Body Man. You can only run across the street to CVS to grab, a pack of Marlboros so many times and make it.
You can't. Yeah.
In DC, you might
can't write a book about. Yeah, can't write a book about the president's, gum guy, the guy who has mints in his pockets ready.
Probably not. Yeah. So, but that got, this was all during that cleaning, that 3-hour session. I ended up really coming up with the whole concept of the book in 3 hours, which was now years later when I think about it, it was a gift. It was a gift from above is what it was, especially since it's got published now. But then my brain said, okay, well, what if I like that title? I like that role. And that became the book title immediately, The Body Man. And everyone I told to, even years later, they're like, man, that's such a great title. And I'm like, well, I hope you like the actual book. But I'm glad I did get a good title. But
it is a good title.
It is a really good title. I know it's a good title.
It tells you nothing,
but it intrigues the hell out of you to know what it's going to do.
Like every time I heard it, ever since I first met you on Twitter and got to know what you're doing, and your book was called The Body Man, I said, what the hell is he writing?
What is he writing about?
What is that? What is the Body Man? Like what? Like it's just it's one of those titles that it's a home run because it tells you nothing. It jumps out at you and tells you absolutely nothing. And that's exactly what you want in a thriller title.
So I had to figure it out, what was the Body Man. So then my brain basically went to, well, what if there was a Secret Service agent that was just like with the real Body Man under President Obama? What if the Secret Service had a guy they called the Body Man? But let's make this more interesting. What if his job is not to protect the president? What if his job is to protect the office? And then I even went further down the rabbit hole and said, well, what if his job was to protect the office, maybe from the occupant at some point? What would this person's role do? How would they have power? Would they have power? And, I had 3 hours to just flush that idea out. And most of the original ideas stuck with me. They ended up being in the final cut of, I want someone in there that has no accountability, that can, if in one instance, on one side of the hand, or one side here, I've got my challenge coin. So on one side of the coin, this man or woman's job is to clean up if the president does something he or she should not do. On the other side, this person has the authority to come in and prevent the president from doing something, which to me was a game changer at that point, because I'm like, wow, that would be a lot of power for one person to have. And which really then opened up the door for me for book 2, which I'm writing now. And book 3 is planned. And book 3, I take that concept and probably inject some crack into it. I take it really like, whoa, we're going to blow this one up into a really cool idea. But yeah, it's just, especially in Washington. I've spent a lot of time there over the years, but as a tourist, I've been, done the White House tour 3 times. One of my goals with this book is to get in the Oval Office. So if anyone has an inside track, get the body man with the real body man, and let's see what the Resolute desk really feels like. I have a very meager bucket list, Jeff. I mean, come on. But I joke with people and say, if you're going to shoot for the stars.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, don't shoot for just driving a Cadillac. Be like me, want a Ferrari. Go for a Ferrari. You get a Caddy. These aren't that bad to get anymore. So what do I want to do with it? But with Washington having so much power, that creates a whole dynamic. And I can, when I visioned it and I came up with the concept, I wanted the concept to be a role, not a person. And I say that because then I could maybe do backstory. So I had to come up with a backstory. Why did we start a body man character? When did it begin? I'll tell you this. I pitched this idea to an agent, a big name agent, New York Times, number 1 New York Times bestseller. I had an hour and a half with this agent. It just worked out that way. And 10 minutes into this pitch, the agent kind of leans in close and says, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And they're like, "So how did you find out about this role?" And I knew, and I answered them truthfully, which I'm not going to answer to you or anyone else, but I knew at that point I had them hooked. Now, they didn't sign me, and they had legitimate reasons, and I learned a lot from that experience. But I knew at that point I had created something different. And that's what I wanted to do, was something that could get people's attention, but not gimmicky, get your attention. Because to me, it's about, I wanted to also, to some extent, kind of be a conversation about where we are culturally, where we are politically. What do people feel about someone having that much power and having no accountability? We live in such a polarizing world right now, especially coming still in the middle of COVID, that there's opinions on everything. And, I'm trying to stir the pot a little bit and make people think, especially now with just the state of affairs, the state of government where we are, the political infighting. I'm just turned 45. I remember the first time I voted, which was 1996. Yes, 1996, first presidential election. I remember who I voted for every time. It's changed, even in my lifespan. Politics, Bill Clinton worked with Newt Gingrich. They made deals happen. Now, I don't know if it's possible for any of these people to work together. And it's not a knock at the Republicans and the Democrats. It's a knock at both of them, that they can't find a way to even come up with just common sense. And that's what we need to get back to, is to get that middle ground back, because people believe a lot of different things. We all live in the same country. This is a great country, and we all should have the opportunity to enjoy everything that can come from that.
Well, and I like how it was a different way of reading a thriller, because you had the main character of the body man, but you didn't have a name.
Right.
You didn't really know what the body man was until halfway through the book, and then you got a hint of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you did know Eli and Kat and a bunch of other supporting characters that felt like main characters.
Yes.
So it was such a tease to who is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Eli and his partner are kind of, they have the show. They're the main dialogue of the story. But the body man is always there.
Yeah.
You just don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know what the role is. And you start to find that out. And then you start to find out the guy. And you get the name. And we won't say it here because I want to keep everybody, guessing. But when you find that out, for me, when I found that out, it didn't feel as satisfying as I thought it would, because I still wanted to know more about the body man.
Right.
Like what you intended to do was establish it as a role worked. Well, at least for me. Maybe I might be the only one, but it worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
You tricked me, Eric.
Very good.
Because
that was the deal.
I wanted to know. I was like, I don't care about his name. Okay, yeah, we got his name now. Great. What the heck does he do? What is this? And it just kept going. And I felt like the culmination of it was awesome, because I read it. I finished it. I was like, this was excellent. What do you do next?
Yeah, what do you do next?
What do you do next? What does the body man do next? Well, how do you do a sequel? How do you do like a next one? So
hopefully
go?
Very, very easily. I think I've left the door open for a lot of different a lot of different things. The next one does definitely go more global. We have more international flair going on. And there might be some conflict starting because of this role, and because of the events that occurred in the first book are setting up some pretty big battles for the second book. But yeah, no,
the consequences are coming.
Consequences always come, Jeff. They always come, no matter what in life. There's always a consequence. Every action has a reaction. And yeah, no, I had a lot of fun playing with that. And I had at one point when I wasn't getting anywhere getting it published, I had an author that I really respect, very successful author, say, I think you need to go rewrite the book, and it just needs to be just the body man. It needs to be just from the body man's perspective. Take Eli and Kat out, make them very minor characters, just stick with the body man. And this person had good reasoning. However, at the end of the day, I knew what the story was about, and I knew what I needed to do to try to sell it, and also to be satisfied with how the story went. And my intention from the get-go was not to make the body man the main protagonist. And people go, well, with a role like that, but I wanted this book. The other books are going in that direction. But with this book, I wanted to be make it a mystery. Who is this role? And I wanted to, we need to find this person. Well, why do we need to find this person? Well, I needed two other strong characters to go that path. I couldn't have had the body man. I'm not giving away where the body man is during most of this narrative, but if I had just taken it from that perspective of where the body man was, I think it would have been a boring book. It wouldn't have been.
I don't think it would have been nearly as mysterious and page turning dramatic if it was just from his perspective the whole time. You almost needed to have that side dialogue, that side story that is circling its way back around. You could tell from the beginning, all roads were going to lead to who the body man was and what the purpose of the body man in this world was for.
Yeah.
That question was left unanswered until almost the very end.
Right.
And you needed a way of circling back around. And I think you do. I mean, everybody has their opinion.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm glad you didn't rewrite it and you kept it like this, because to me, it was refreshing. This was a refreshing take on telling a story. Because a lot, very crowded and, convoluted thriller space right now.
Sure.
Everybody's writing CIA this, FBI that, spy this, a lot of people are doing it. And there's a lot of great work out there. I'm not downplaying it at all, trying to say anything negative. But, the reason why I think TJ Newman did so good with Falling was because it wasn't anything else. It was so refreshing
Right.
to hear a story that hit so close to home. It was important to her because, you know, she was in the airline industry and got, I think she got laid off because of COVID and then went to go do the book thing. And I think it was just refreshing. And when I read The Body Man the first time, I said, this isn't like anything else I've read, but it did. Again, like I told you earlier, it reminded me of The Firm and The Pelican Brief by John Grisham. That's what it kind of took me back to. And I thought, this is so refreshing. So I love the idea of the body man. Can you give me a hint? And for those listening, where is Breach of Trust going?
Yeah, so like I said, Breach of Trust is going a little bit more global, and in Breach of Trust, it's not that much of a mystery. There's going to be trust between individuals that is broken, and it's not just one. There's actually multiple people that, and those storylines are going to intertwine back of how those breaches, how that difficulty in those relationships connect back to a bigger story. So that one's been a lot of fun. It's a little slower writing than I have in the past, but I've also never been in the middle of trying to promote a book and have a book come out. So it's and you know, I've got a family, I've got a full-time job. It's not excuses. It's just I've worked on it. I wrote a really fun chapter. So I went to New Orleans back at the end of August. We were supposed to have a conference there, BoucherCon. 3 or 4 weeks. I can't remember how far out they canceled it because of COVID. I had already reserved everything, prepaid the hotel, and I'm sure I could have got out of all of it because of COVID. But I had planned a chapter for, in particular, at Breach of Trust. I wanted to put a chapter in New Orleans, and I knew what I wanted to write. But I'd never been to New Orleans in my life, and I was going to go down by myself and meet a lot of other writers. And I decided, you know what? I don't want to Google Earth this. I don't want to take pictures of this location and put my head there. I want to sit there and write this chapter. And so I did. I went down there. I actually was fortunate enough that I met Jack Stewart, who's an author. He's also a Navy pilot. Jack was kind enough to pick me up at the airport, complete stranger, and drive me to the military base, the joint base New Orleans. I got on an F-18 flight simulator that they train in, which was pretty amazing experience. I told my kids, and I'll be telling people that story for years. And then, I got to hang out in New Orleans and write the chapter I wanted. And I fortunately got out of New Orleans right before Ida came in. And if I hadn't switched my flight, which I almost didn't do, when I finally got around to calling the airlines, I got not the last flight out of the city, but the last flight they had availability on, I got on. And
that's close.
I was very fortunate to have that experience and to get the heck out of there. That was fun. That was a chapter. I haven't gone back and reread that chapter yet. So I kind of sometimes do. Sometimes I wait till the end. Kind of depends.
Yeah.
I'm also writing this one a little bit out of order. I've had some interactions with Kyle Mills, and more so than not, I've watched interviews and read interviews. And he does not. First of all, he writes a 40,000 word outline. So he writes more than a third of a book just for an outline,
wow.
Which to me is Greek. But he then will get up in a day and say, I feel like chapter 23. And so he writes chapter 23. And the next day, I feel like chapter 57. Okay, he writes chapter 57. I've never done anything like that. But with this book, with Breach of Trust, I have been writing a lot of chapters out of order, which is extremely unusual for me. Some people might say red flag, but after doing this, and after this being what will be my 5th completed novel when I finish this one, it'll work out just fine. I'll pull it together. I'll do what I gotta do. That's the other thing too. And it's not arrogance. It's not overconfidence. It's just writing the drafts to me are the fun part. I know some people hate that part from interviews I've seen, where they just can't stand that first draft. Man, I've never written a first draft and been like, oh, I hated that experience. I've loved every moment of it, honestly. Editing it, now that's another story. And if you write a rough first draft, you have a lot more work in your editing.
Sure, editing's more of a work.
Love that, and I think that comes down to the gratefulness that I really do view the opportunity I have to do this is a gift. I don't have some special talent. I'm not the smartest person you're going to meet by any stretch. I'm not the most creative person, but I've put my mind to doing something, and I believe in my ability to do it. And I really believe that that's what I was put on planet Earth to do. I knew a long time ago what I was doing was not why I was here. I'm good at what I do, but it's not what I want to do for 20 years. And this is what I want to do. Now, can this pay the bills? Can this provide? Some of that, like people have said, the luck factor kicks in. I don't really believe in luck. I believe in fate more so, but that's out of my control. I can, rule number one, I write the best book I can. That's the first thing I can do. And that's, once I get that part done, the other steps will come into place. I'll have to hustle. I'll have to, have a team that's going to help with it, and social media and all the other stuff. But the first job is to get that draft done and get that book out there. And to me, it's exhilarating. So I'm kind of excited. I'm definitely excited to have this book out. I'm excited to get back into writing more, and getting some of these other novels out of my head and out of the notes that I have on my phone and on my computer and everything. Just because of that excitement. That I don't put the writing above family or the experiences I've had having kids, or just, kids and I went on a helicopter ride this weekend for my birthday. First time any of us have been in a helicopter, and it was an amazing experience. And my daughter wanted to go again. Let's go tomorrow, Daddy. It's like, not going to happen. Dad's got to pay for it. You going to pay? No, Daddy.
Yeah. Helicopter rides aren't cheap. Sorry, sweetie.
But they were good. It was a great experience. But I say that that experience of finishing that novel. I've done it 4 times now where I've completed a full novel, and there's nothing like it. That exhilaration and that feeling, and it's a feeling of accomplishment. And that's where I circle back to what I try to tell writers is finish that first draft. Don't quit. If you're going to do it for anyone, do it for yourself, and not in a selfish manner. But if you don't do it for yourself, if you're a writer to please your spouse or to please your kids or a friend or whatever, you're probably gonna be disappointed. They're gonna disappoint you. If not every book, they'll disappoint you at some point. So write that book for the accomplishment you will feel. I can't stress that one enough either. Write that book to get that joy. And I realize for some people it's not. I don't understand that. But most people, it is a pretty big sense of accomplishment and relief to finish.
Yeah, that's good advice. I really think it is.
Yeah.
So what's in store for next year? Obviously, Breach of Trust is going to come out at some point.
Yep. That's the plan.
What's next? What's 2022 look like for Eric Bishop?
So Eric's got to get on the horse and finish Breach of Trust. I have another book about a third of the way done that I've not told many people about. That's in the same universe, but it's not part of this series. It's a real timely book. It has a very strong female character. It has to do with what's going on right now in the world. And I'd like to really focus some attention. I wrote about a third of it before I got my book deal. Ever since I got the book deal, I haven't picked up that book again. I wrote 30-something thousand words, and it's just sitting there on my computer. It's backed up in 3 or 4 spots, so I don't lose it. I need to probably print off a copy and stick in my safe. But I'd like to dive back into that one. I need to focus on getting some of these books out because there's more coming, and I want more to come out. So that's the plan. I hope to get some travel in. I hope the world's less weird. Although I've traveled quite a lot during this, not as much as I'd like or not as much as I had in the past, but I've been fortunate just in my circumstances and where I live that I was not just, stuck in my house and never seeing anybody. I've definitely been, and I'm an outdoors person. So that's continued. I've spent if I don't have my kids, I'm normally out hiking. I moved recently, so I've got a national park land within about a 15-minute drive. It's not a big piece of land, but I can go walk 3-4 miles there and have almost nobody there. So I can just So I actually went and wrote there last weekend. I wrote a chapter there. So yeah, just try to keep doing that. Enjoy time with family. Enjoy time with friends. I've really got a blessed selection of friends that really enrich my life, and I enjoy spending time with when I can.
So, tell people where they can find you. Where can they get the book? Where can they find more on Eric Bishop, and how can they follow you on social media?
Sure. So, easiest place to go is my website, ericpbishop.com. P stands for Paul, which is my middle initial. I did get that question early on of, well, why don't you just call yourself Eric Bishop? Well, when I started writing in 2014, there was another Eric Bishop out there that had published, I think, just one book, but had a website. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? And I'd always used my middle initial anyways on everything. I'd always signed with it. So to me, it was natural to just use the P for Paul. If they go to my website, that will actually direct them to information about the books. That will actually send them to Amazon. There's a link to Amazon there. If they go to social media, EPB author, which is my initials, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So I'm on all the big social platforms. I one day hope to be on them a little bit less, but with all the book stuff, people would probably be glad if I slow down on posting maybe in the next couple weeks. So, okay, we're sick of here. And I did hear that one time from someone. They're like, dude, you've been talking the body man for so long. And it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, when you got a book,
you have to be a shameless self-promoter when you're trying to sell something like this.
And the amount of people that have come up to me just in the last few months and saying, oh, I didn't know anything about this book. It's like, I mean, I've been posting about it all year, but it just shows that, hey, I'm not showing up on everybody's feed. I'm not.
It's so easy to scroll, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you can scroll past it, too. It's like,
Absolutely.
It's about timing and hitting. And yeah, I mean, social media is a monster. So
it is.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, ericpbishop.com.
Yes, ericpbishop.com.
The Body Man is out. As people are listening to this and watching this, The Body Man is out. Go to your local bookstore.
Type in The Body Man.
Yeah.
Type in The Body Man.
Go to your local bookstore. Go to your local bookstore and have them order you a copy. Support those small bookstores. If they can't for some reason, you can always hit up Amazon, Barnes and Noble. There's even smaller bookstores throughout the country that still do shipping. So hit them up as well. Get yourself a copy of The Body Man. I promise it is 5 stars. It's a refreshing take on a thriller that I really enjoyed. Eric, it's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jeff.
I wish you the best. I know we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And we'll have more chats like this. We'll have to do some round table type of talks with authors and stuff and kind of mix it up and have some fun.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping to make it out to a conference next year, so hopefully we can link up if you're at the same one, and we can do this again maybe.
Sounds good. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. All right, brother. Take care.
You too. Take care.